On this week's show, Trimble returns to police how much time Baz and Fla spend talking about Munster.
You were in breach of the cap last week.
We select our starting 15 for Ireland's opening Six Nations game against Scotland.
And Saracens potentially relocating to Romania.
Joe presents Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby, together with Guinness.
Hello and you're very welcome to Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby here on Joe, together with Guinness. Players won't play. Sarry's gonna pay. Relegate, relegate. Worse than blood, gate. Leinster gonna bait. Relegate.
You were so, now I understand. We were doing for the listener, we were doing a photo before, and I had one of Barry's cue cards, and he was concerned that I was reading the lyrics to his opening song. I was wondering why you were so paranoid about it.
I don't need to write those lyrics down. They're up here. That's my job. That's my 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. That has to be the sweetest part is watching back Alex Sanderson doing that smug Taylor Swift thingy, and now realising that they're relegated. So Saracens are relegated. We are going to dive into that deep with Jerry Flannery when he comes on. We've got Champions Cup quarterfinals to talk about. Ulster, inspired by Will Addison and Balakoon, will now face Toulouse away. Billy Vunipola broke his arm for Saracens. We'll talk about that as well, as they qualified for the last 8. Munster's youngsters showing a bit of signs of life at the end for them. We'll talk about that. And Leinster winning their 16th straight game of the season. We also had Ireland's Six Nations squad announced by Andy Farrell. We'll jump into that.
Leinster falter.
They did.
Finally.
Yeah. And we have a live show in Cork next week that we also want to talk about. Trimby, how was your weekend?
Good. I was away all week. I was away with work.
Yeah, where were you last week?
I was in Baltimore.
Where's that?
It's in the States, on the East Coast.
Like The Wire? Baltimore.
Like The Wire, straight away. Everyone's first recollection of Baltimore.
Is it like The Wire?
There's certainly...
Does everyone just say that all the time?
Certainly some dangerous areas.
Yeah.
I wasn't really concentrating where I was going, walking back one afternoon, and broad daylight. And then I just got a whiff of weed, and I was like, then I looked around, cop cars everywhere, and like a police line up and all. I think the weed was just like a wee sign. You're in.
Was it legal? Is it legal?
I don't know. I actually don't know. But anyway,
Anyone's trying to sell you some black tops? Got some black tops and some white tees. No.
What do you mean up for it? I got back to the hotel, and then someone said, "Well, we've seen our first shooting in Baltimore." So it turns out someone just got whacked.
Oh crap!
Yeah, I know. So I swiftly made my way back to the hotel.
So who were you?
Buried myself away.
Who were you selling to over there?
We were selling to soccer academies. So it was like a soccer coaches convention. Enormous, 12,000 people there, and I was in American mode, right. Sales mode. And I was so tired by the time I got home.
Bringing your bum bag, your white sneakers.
You know, I put the bum bag on before I left the house, and I had my passport in it, my wallet, my phone, and all my stuff for the airport. And Anna goes, "Oh no!" She goes, "Are you trying to sell something?" And she didn't even continue her argument. I just took it off and left it behind. I'm sorry. Okay. I couldn't do it.
If you wear it across your chest when you're selling something, maybe.
It doesn't work with the coat either. The combination of the two don't work.
Yeah. I'm never trying to sell something when I'm wearing it.
Yeah.
And how'd it go?
It went well. Yeah. It went well. We made a bit of progress, made a bit of traction.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll be doing a bit of work over there.
Okay.
With a few teams.
Deadly.
Yeah. It's really positive. I'll tell you all about it.
Do.
Not now.
I'm waiting for it. Cool. I had a nice weekend.
Yeah, you were famous on Friday night.
I was on the late. Well, the band were on the Late Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was lovely.
And is it? I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
Thanks.
Because it was away.
Yeah.
I only got in on Sunday morning.
Got in late.
But are you the rep of the band? You're like the singer gets like an unequal amount of share in attention, and were you the one? Were you doing all the talking, or was everybody pitching in?
We didn't talk to anyone really.
Oh, you were just singing. You were performing.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were getting interviewed.
No,
Oh.
just performed. Yeah.
They didn't want to hear what you had to say for yourselves.
God, no. We just had to wave.
Oh,
And
no.
we actually did a pre-record. I let a cat out of the bag here. We had to. So we couldn't be there on the night, so we did it earlier that day. So we're like waving at a void. So like now wave up here, and we're like hey, and now looking over at Ryan and wave for hey.
Did you sing the relegation song by Saracens?
Should have. It would have been way better. I was so terrified because like one of my favorite things to do on Friday nights when I'm not gigging is to sit down and go through Twitter and watch people tearing other people to shreds that have been on the Late Late Show. Because I think people just sit at home and get pissed and just get a bit lippy on Twitter and just go off. So I was like, shit, if I make any bit of a mistake here.
Oh, that's terrible. That's a bad mindset to go into it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But I don't really give that much of a shit. But
That was like that was my mindset for international rugby until I was like 28. Just don't cock up.
yeah, we had a couple of goes at it as well. So we had like 2-3 goes at it, so we got it right. But
Yeah.
So
Did you get
if
any abuse
if
after?
you could get 2 or 3 goes at it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, we've done it a few times, so we're kind of used to it. And I met, for the first time ever, met Blind Boy Bow Club from the Rubber Bandits a week after we'd done it in Limerick about 5 years ago, right? So I was in a pub called Dolan's in Limerick. It was like a Monday night. We were rehearsing in their venue at the back. I went into the bar to get a cup of tea, and he was standing next to me. I didn't know who he was. He wears a plastic bag, and he said, "You in Hermitage Green?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I kind of knew the voice. I was like, he goes, "Yeah, I'm Blind Boy." And I was like, "Jeez, as well." I was like starstruck, I'm a huge fan. And he goes, "Do you ever notice like when you do the Late Late Show and then like you walk in somewhere here, like here, everyone's looking at you going, what a goal." And I was like, I do now. And he's like, that's because everyone would look at you and go, they would imagine themselves on the Late Late Show and then think what they'd be like if they were on the Late Late Show. And they'd go, I'd be pretty cocky if I was in the Late Late Show. So he must be pretty cocky. So he must be a goal. So
That's the logic. He's thought it out.
so they project what they think they'd be like if they were on the Late Late Show onto you.
Yeah.
And I was
They'd
just
be
there.
goals.
Yeah, I was just there with my cup of tea going, oh God. Am I a goal?
I still can't say goal.
Yeah, go on.
Remember we discussed it in the Limerick show?
You always...
Goal. I can't say it with a Belfast accent anyway.
Now, what's the equivalent in Belfast?
What would it be? I don't know, a dickhead or...
No, it's not.
Yeah,
That's
there's
too
no
universal.
punchy. Guile's
Too
like
universal.
punchy,
Yeah,
isn't
It's
it?
pure Limerick, like.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so it's good. Other than that, children are very snotty still. There's a lot of snots going on.
Snotty, but I missed them so much.
Did you?
When I was away, I really missed them.
Yeah.
And then whenever I came back, Katie's changed loads in the week. And then I'm going to have my first weekend by myself with her.
With her, just her.
Yeah, for Christmas I got Anna and her best friend a trip to London. And but I booked Katie on the flight, thinking I would just have Jack and Molly. But Anna goes, you know what, I think I'm going to leave Katie with you.
No, you booked her on the flight.
Yeah.
That was zero crack with that be to be off with your
It'll
buddy.
be fine. Well, she's literally just stopped breastfeeding.
Okay, right.
So and
So you've got the 3 of them now.
yeah,
Wow, it's terrifying.
yeah, Granny and Granda will be called regularly.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a few of them for the weekend, the 2 of them, and they've so much snots. But Orla's got like this snot machine that sucks it out of there.
No way.
You suck it out, right? She's like, do you use them?
No,
You stick it up their nose, and she's like, now she's become like real obsessed with sucking snots.
really?
Yeah.
I thought you put your fingers in their ears and blow in their mouth.
So it's really blocked up. Their head just like starts bubbling. Oh shit! pushing bubbles back in.
Like Dougal with the car. No, that's not quite right.
Ah shit! At least you've 2 of them. Just practice on one of them first. Yeah. So that's what we've been at. Right, we get stuck into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna get. I think we'll dive straight
in,
into
right?
series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking there because sometimes Monday morning it's cold in here and sometimes like an early start and you're maybe not that enthusiastic. Again, for the benefit of the listener or the viewer, before we start, we were like, woo! And like developing this kind of fake enthusiasm. That Sarries every single game next year in the championship.
Yeah.
Just this fake enthusiasm. And then they go out and play like Cornish Pirates or whatever it is. They're like, this is crap.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see how many of them stick around for that, because that's the talk at the moment, that they're all, I know we'll all stay. Sure, we'll see. Okay, we'll get Fla, who's probably way more informed than the two of us about this. We'll get him on in a second to talk about Sarries and all the Champions Cup stuff, as well as Ireland's Six Nations squad. Welcome to the couch, Jerry Flannery, our Saracens correspondent. Tell us everything.
What's there to tell?
Flan, I just listened to what's your man's name?
Brendan
Venter talk about Saracens on the way up, and it was quite hilarious. Listen to him try and defend everything they'd done and dodge questions by...
Was it like Tom Cruise defending Scientology?
I haven't seen him do that. Has he tried to do it?
Yeah, there's like a 15-minute long YouTube of Tom. Have you not seen this?
The Saracens should get Tom Cruise in.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, the salary cap is okay.
You can spend it on comms. He's the
Nigel
UPR
Ray's
stuff.
Ron Hubbard.
Yeah.
That's great. So yeah, have they any leg to stand on with how much they're defending themselves, or is it just? I mean, I am happy that it's relegation. It's like grand. That's all. That's what we all wanted, because I think they would have stayed up if they'd allowed them play out the rest of the season. They're not going to be in the Champions Cup next year. They're relegated. They're going to be under the salary cap. That keeps me happy. The vague information that we've been given about how much they were over the salary cap and why we haven't been all the information hasn't been disclosed is quite frustrating and irritating.
Yeah, and a lot of it's speculation at the minute. There's a lot of people talking about what they may have done, and no one really knows.
And it
So certainly we're not going to solve any problems.
yeah, we certainly won't. But it was
You come to the right place, folks.
This is at the very start of it, when this all came out. We were wondering, well, if they were over the salary cap for the last couple of years, how are they not over the salary cap now when they signed Jack Singleton, another English international hooker, and they signed Elliot Daly? Like, surely that puts them over, because when you're trying to manage a squad and manage a budget, they just seem to be able to sign whoever they want. So you're wondering then, how did they...
Well, they weren't aware that they were going to be pulled on it then, right? They were only told on the 4th of November, which I find interesting that they waited until after the World Cup to tell them, because they didn't want to obviously upset England's chances. But they probably weren't aware till then.
I don't know what, man. Realistically, if the thing is what you said, that they've been relegated now, because otherwise you can circumnavigate around the salary cap so easily if you want, and it's hard to put definitive laws in place to stop people. That's why I think everyone got so frustrated, because in the spirit of the game, if Saracens want to get around the salary cap, they will be able to do it. That's why the fact that when they got the fine, and then they just said, well, we'll rally together, we'll focus on the Prem. And even now, they've still gone through in Europe. They still would have stayed up, and they would have been, they probably would have had to do a little bit of trimming. But now it seems like it's actually fully hit them now.
So how do you mean then? How would they find ways around it? Invest in a company owned by players' wives and stuff like that? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Well, if your wife.
Yeah. So that's
it.
Yeah.
But how do you say that? How do you say if someone's not directly getting a benefit from it? How do you say then that they're getting paid that way?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so there's so many ways around it. I think that's what some of the people in the Premiership that came out and said, like, it's the spirit of it. We're trying to put a salary cap in there to make the game sustainable long term, because as opposed to in Ireland, so in Ireland the RFU run the 4 provincial teams, and the RFU have the best interests of the national team and of rugby in general. In that's what's important to them. Whereas if you're a chairman, if it's all chairmen that are running the club, like millionaires who go in and buy a club, they're looking out what's best for their team at that there and then, at that juncture, at that point. And that's why I suppose the good things to come out of it was that when they wanted that you to qualify for the Champions Cup, there was meritocracy required, that like if you were pumping millions and millions into Bath every year and you weren't qualifying for the Champions Cup, But if you saw Zebra qualifying every single year,
Calling it the Champions Cup kind of degrades it, I think.
but if you saw Zebra qualifying every year, you'd be like, well, this doesn't make sense, man. I'm pouring all this money into my team. So they got, the fact that was brought in, that you had to qualify on merit for the Champions Cup made sense. But it also means that you still have to you're trying to develop the game and grow the game as well. So you want, whichever of the Italian teams places best is going to get in and play, because otherwise rugby just dies in Italy, and there has to be an onus on trying to develop the sport, because if the chairman, and if there is no salary cap, well then chairman will just keep throwing money at the game and inflating the wages and inflating the game until they decide that they're sick of it, and then suddenly the game just goes bust. So there has to be something there to manage it and make it sustainable over time.
Yeah, I found at the time when it all came out, it was like, everyone was like, yeah, they've obviously been doing this. It's disgraceful. But there was a little bit of like, people weren't that harsh on the team and the players. Everyone was kind of going, look, to be fair, they're an unbelievable team, unbelievable coaching staff, and that doesn't take from it. But for me, as a Munster fan, I'm massively pissed off and frustrated that they've gotten away with it for years, and like they would only have that team in the Champions Cup by breaking the rules in the Premiership. So they've done it illegally, and they've doped or whatever. Having coached Munster and invested a hell of a lot more than I have over the last few years into the team, and gone out and lost in huge games to them, is that frustrating? Like, how frustrating is it for you?
First of all, I'm glad we brought Munster up, because I don't think we've talked about Munster anywhere near enough.
This is all we're going to give them this year.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about Munster.
But, yeah.
It is very frustrating, but frustrating from the point of view that we got beat when we played Saracens in the two semis. They were better than us. They were just better than us. They outcoached us. Their players played better than our players.
Because they were cheating.
No, it's just because they were better. But the reason that they were able to put that squad together illegally, like they went outside the laws that were set out in the Premiership around the salary cap, which is frustrating, because you finish up every season, you go, okay, well, here we are. How do we bridge the gap to where who are the benchmark team in European rugby? And it's either Leinster or it's Saracens. And when it's Leinster, you just go, well, they have an incredible conveyor belt, and okay, well, we can't replicate some of the things, the infrastructure that they have in Leinster around the private schools and stuff like that, but there's ways to do it, and we spoke about that in the last show. When it's Saracens, you're like, well, they have a very good academy system, but they also have huge, like, they're making massive losses every year, and they're just able to absorb that through Nigel Ray and their owners. But then you just go, well, then they just go and sign whoever they want, and that makes it very, very hard. But you don't get pissed off because you got outplayed on the day. You just take it. We just take our medicine. We got beaten there. But you do, when you step back from it, you go, we got beaten because they were able to put Mako Vanapola, Billy Vanapola, Vincent Koch, Jamie George, put this incredible, I think they had 16 players at the World Cup. They had 9 in the World Cup final. 9 players from one club at the highest level of rugby. That's very, very hard.
What I would say, though, is that the players aren't the bad guys.
No, not at all.
So if as an individual player, if you go to negotiate a contract with Saracens, you've no idea what's a squad, 35, 38 players. You don't know what the other 34 players are getting, so you don't know what the salary cap is or whether you're in breach of it. And most players are probably ignorant anyway. They mightn't even know that there is a salary cap or what the salary cap was before. Everybody's talking salary cap now. But the players, I think, they've got zero blame, I believe. That's probably the one area we can contribute, because I listen to a couple other podcasts, and they've got specialists in to talk about certain areas, and financial advisor in one podcast to listen to. We don't.
Sounds like a good laugh.
We don't. But we can only really provide the player's perspective, and from a player's perspective, you go in and negotiate your contract with the club, and that's it, and you try and get as good a deal as you can. So I don't think the players have any blame.
So when you sit down with Ulster and you went, okay, that's the contract sorted. What about some investments outside the game and maybe a house for my missus? And they went,
Oh, and by the way, what's everybody else getting?
yeah. I agree with you.
Doesn't happen.
I agree with you. It's nothing on the players. It's not even on the coaches, because the coaches are just they'll have the budget to work with, and it'll be people above them that will just say, this is what you have to work with, and we'll negotiate. You identify the players that you want. We'll try and get them signed for the club. So it's not the players' fault. It's not the coach's fault. I don't believe that any of them are ignorant to it. I believe that they all probably knew, and this is a little bit hairy here, but if someone above us is clearing it, if someone says to you, I can pay this amount and I'll put this much into an investment for you, you're not going to say, no, well, maybe dial it back a little bit, just don't want to go over the salary cap. You just say, okay. Because
Yeah, and so this year they have to get under the salary cap by the end of the season, right?
before they go into the championship,
Before they go into the championship,
they have to be under the
relegated
7 million, yeah.
And they've to be under the 7 million for a full year next year, and then they can get promoted back to the Premiership. They can't play in the Champions Cup next year. To get under the salary cap now, they've obviously started having to release a few of their players. There was talks of them having to release some on loan, Pat, wasn't there?
Yeah, Daily Mail was saying that there's talk about they wouldn't want to loan them to the other English sides, so maybe putting them over to Ireland on loan for a year while they're in the Championship, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
We'd
the
take
Sarries players up for grabs.
Put them to work over here. Get the English come over here and do a bit of building for us.
Put them to work. Sounds like there's a sweatshop. There's a Sarri sweatshop.
Get them in Fez Corporation. He's sounds like a builder. Just get him down to Limerick and build a few hotels.
There's a wee pencil behind his ear.
Isn't one of them a bricklayer or a
Scaffolder.
Scaffolder.
He's gone. He's got
the Scarlets.
He'll be scaffolding the Scarlets.
shopping centre in Glenetley? Yeah, we take a few of them.
You were saying, Pat, that they can't play, that only teams that are in the Pro 14 in terms of, because they're what have they got left now in the season? They know they're relegated, but they still have that squad of players, so they might as well go all out for the Champions Cup. But even if they win the Champions Cup, you're saying that they cannot play in the Champions Cup the following year if they're in the Championship.
Yeah,
unless,
that's it. It's what is it? They said that the Premiership, Top 14 and Pro 14 are the only eligible leagues that you can have somebody in there. So even if they win this in May, they won't be able to defend their trophy the year after, which seems
So
a bit odd.
unless they're from an emerging nation.
Yes,
what you said
because the
earlier
Challenge
on.
Cup, yeah,
So
is
where
Virgin Nations.
Timisoara Saracens? Where are they?
I think they're Romania, are they?
Uh-huh.
So if Saracens were to, but Saracens probably can't relocate to Romania and play in the Championship.
They can't.
What are you looking at? Is that written on your laptop?
I anticipated all these questions. No, they would have to maybe go to the Romanian Championship.
But they're like a sister club, aren't they?
Yeah, so send them all over there.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There'll be a way around it. It's a funny one because I was saying to Trimby there before we started as well. It's like, I don't know, because they keep changing the rules. It's like you couldn't get relegated. They had to give them the 35-point deduction, and then they changed the rules again. It's like, no, now you are relegated. Like, so they're talking about regulations and rules, but they're kind of changing them on the fly. Like, so.
Well, Flack kind of touched on that a wee bit. So you can't really capture the entire salary cap with regulations. It just needs to be in the spirit.
Yeah, if like Mark McCall said, he's speaking to Eddie Jones during the week to see how what's the best plan for players. Venter's spoken.
Eddie, it's Mark here. Listen, we need to get our heads together.
Yeah,
this is chaos. I'm in serious trouble.
Yeah, Venter was talking this morning about that the players would all rally together, none of them would leave, and this would become more than just winning trophies. It would be about the team and the honesty and the integrity of the club, and they'd all stick together and get them back to where they were. So that'll be interesting.
Do you notice in the what do they call it? Like have you seen a couple of people put it up over the weekend? The Saracens like conduct or the Saracens? What do they call that?
Their
Mission
their
statement.
values.
Their values, yeah. And one of them is humility. But like putting like posters up with humility on it.
It's the exact
It's
opposite.
kind of
and honesty.
Yeah.
Okay, but the thing is that like the people who put those posters together wouldn't be. They're the guys involved in developing the culture and the rugby side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They wouldn't be going, oh, honesty, can't really put that one in because we're breaching the salary cap. That's just Mark McCall and his coaching team trying to get that across to the players. So that's the same thing where the rugby is slightly ring fenced from the people who made the decisions to say that this is what we can afford to pay the players.
I agree completely.
but it has the knock-on effect into the group, and it must be incredibly stressful for them all, because regardless, when you look at it now, they're going to have to. People are going to lose their jobs. You know, a lot of players are going to have to move. Like you said, for Eddie Jones, now he's the bulk of his team and his squad is going to come from that one club, and now that club is in disarray. So in a way, it makes it pretty interesting. A pretty interesting Six Nations coming up.
In a way, they're about to become more humble.
Yeah.
How humble are you guys? We're very humble.
Yeah.
What about you?
Super humble now these days.
Not as humble as us.
No. Well, they've got to face Leinster in the next round of the Champions Cup in the quarterfinal in the Aviva.
And what's going to be really interesting is, imagine they go on and they win the Champions Cup this year. Like, what are people going to be like at the end? You know, like, generally whoever wins, you just go, fair play to them. That was pretty incredible. Like, that's a big achievement. But everyone will be like, you cheated all the way through today.
But it's still fair enough.
So much yesterday.
Really?
Oh my god.
It's still fair enough there was a knock, because there's no salary cap in European.
But still, the reason
No,
they
but
would have gotten those players in the first place was by cheating to get them into the squad. I mean, you're not going to buy players just to play
for
in the
European,
Champions Cup.
Because you have to qualify on meritocracy, they put together a squad illegally that then went and qualified for the Champions Cup and then go and win the Champions Cup. So whichever way you address it.
The other side was like that the fact that they wouldn't show their books and they said, oh, no, we'll take relegation.
Like, what is
They
in
wanted
your books?
Yeah, a forensic audit was the other option, and they said, nah, you're grand. Like, that's...
They also had to give back
screams.
their titles though as well.
Did they?
Is that not it? They had to open up their books and then give back titles or face relegation. Right. So that was. Did you notice that? That kind of wasn't really. That was kind of skewed. It was reported elsewhere, and
they
they all
still had
just
the
said,
titles?
"Show, just show your books." Was what was reported, but it was show your books and give back titles,
All right.
which they would. I don't know, but the fact that there's both means that they're maybe slightly less suspicious. I
I
don't know.
prefer not knowing that piece of information.
Yeah, I know.
It's weird to give them the option, though, isn't it? Like, do you want to give back your titles?
I know. Just show us your books anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, no, we'll keep our titles. Like, why don't they make the
fine.
decision on that? Like, yeah. Very weird. Like.
That's ridiculous.
Well, if you knew your books were cooked heavily, and you go like, give us back your titles and show us your books, and then, you know, we mightn't relegate you. And then you go, or else we'll just relegate you. You kind of know that once you show them the books that you're going to get relegated anyway. So
Yeah.
so hold on to the titles.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anyway, Munster.
I want we'll get to them. Leinster, yeah, probably not as overly impressive against Benetton yesterday.
I have a feeling there's some dark days ahead for Leinster.
if they don't beat Saracens for the one time I'm going to be cheering for them, I'll be so disappointed. So first 20 minutes, Benetton could have been 9 points up, chose to go to the corner a lot, with confidence that they would have scored. Leinster, again, just the defence is unbelievable, keeping them out. But I suppose if Benetton had more to play for, could have found themselves 9-0 up, potentially up at half time, would have been a different game in the second half. Did they show anything in that period that gave you a little bit of an insight how to beat Leinster?
They went frontline on all their restarts. They went short on all the restarts. So they obviously saw something there with Leinster. I'm not saying they got an awful lot of return from it. I thought I don't think if even the home game in Dublin was sticky with Benetton, but I thought
they're a good side. Don't.
Yeah,
get me
I
wrong,
thought their 8 Halafihi.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
And they've been consistently good for 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, Halafihi. He's quality. But I don't think they had the quality to handle that Leinster team all the way going through. And Leinster didn't play like as they normally could. Like, you didn't see Ringrose ripping up. But
they didn't have the ball in the first half. That struck me. It was like for the first 20 minutes they didn't have the ball, and so that, like, going into play Leinster is like keep the ball away from them. Is that something? I mean, it's not easy to do. Obviously, you feel like you might be running up a blind alley when they're coming at you with that blue wall all the time. But it's almost better, lesser two evils, than kicking them the ball back. And
yeah, I always think
them to do the same to you.
Yeah, I always think with Leinster, and more so recently, that whenever they get the ball, once they get their tails up and they go through 3, 4, 5, 6 phases, then it becomes inevitable. you're going to concede at some stage, and it's very, very difficult to get away from that mindset. Whenever Leinster are at their best, they don't cough up the ball.
You know, it's a good point. Remember when we talk about Ulster now, and we talk about how important Addison, Coetzee, Cooney, and McCluskey are, and Billy Burns had a phenomenal game at the weekend. But you talk about those guys, and you're looking for them. So you know when you get your analysis sheet before a game, it said stop Coetzee, stop Ulster. Yeah. There is nothing like that with Leinster. Like, who do you stop? What? Stop Doris, stop Leinster, or then stop Deegan, or then stop Ruddock. It's when you play the All Blacks, every single time you're playing against them, there's some guy there who's getting the ball who potentially is going to score a try, and it's kind of getting to that stage with Leinster where they're that good. I thought James Ryan had a massive game at the weekend. I was looking at he had 16 carries and 19 tackles. Like the work rate that he gives, and then McGrath was excellent.
Was class, wasn't
McGrath was picking off, like every time they'd overread a play and tried to block a kick or something like that, he just made little snipes. Thought he was really
McGrath,
good.
If he, and he has been playing well this season, kind of quietly. It's easy to be quietly performing well when you're playing with Leinster, but if maybe you had seen that 3 or 4 weeks ago, he might have got in the conversation with the other two fellas. Might have been a less straightforward conversation. It's still not straightforward, but there's obviously a lot of competition there. McGrath, I thought, was brilliant at the weekend.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that I think that was the first time he's been captain, is that right? With Leinster. I didn't realise he had that role within the squad. So I didn't realise.
He's older than you think. He's like 29 now, right? I think. Or
is he that old, really?
Yeah, I think he's 28, 29.
I don't know. I wouldn't say so.
Wrong.
Now I think he's probably 26, maybe.
I remember. Do you remember we were in an Irish squad years ago, and I remember
26,
there was someone there.
I was so wrong.
There was someone saying to us, they were saying, this guy Luke McGrath is phenomenal, man. And they were saying like they watched him playing for the Irish schools, and he was dump tackling people, and his handling and all his fundamentals were really, really good. So I kind of knew when he was on the way up that you'd see a lot of him. But it's a good point, like what you're saying, in that if he was playing in the Ulster team, would he be standing out like Cooney is? I think Cooney's a little bit more evasive as a 9.
They're very different, I think.
Yeah.
They almost suit their clubs better, or maybe the way the clubs play kind of is dictated by the way their style is. I suppose.
But you won't know till hopefully, I don't know if we're going to get to see both of them in green during the Six Nations, but it'll be interesting to see how they go. I thought Caelan Doris had a big game. Max Deegan was good again. Caelan Doris had 10 carries, 12 tackles, try. He had a couple of really good turnovers as well.
We talked about this before, but that Max Deegan, Caelan Doris, you'd still go Doris? I know they're different.
I think, honestly, like Deegan has been outstanding the last couple of weeks as well. So I'd probably be leaning towards Doris maybe at the moment, but it swings. You know what I mean? If Max Deegan's selected, I think he's going to be in a good position as well.
You wouldn't play both of them?
You could do. I think they tried that at the weekend with Deegan at 6 and Doris at 8, but I think your 8's naturally going to get a lot more ball and get on it a little bit more. So I think you're like when Peter Manny plays with Munster and with Ireland, the 6 is generally holding the blind a lot more, so he doesn't get the same involvements in terms of carries. Which when you're like for someone like Pete, who's like you pick him, he's got that line out aspect as well. I don't think you're getting the best out of Max Deegan at 6. Not to say he can't do the job there, but you know his skill set and his ability to make line breaks is top class. So they've still have Rhys Ruddock in behind them there, and Van der Fleer was really busy as well. So
yeah, it's insane. I mean, if you someone pointed this out to me the weekend, if you took the Leinster players from around the world at the moment and made a few teams out of them, they'd all compete.
What do you mean?
Like if you took
all
the Leinster players from Ulster, Connacht, Munster, England, France, New York, wherever. Yeah, it's pretty insane. Like at the level, and I'm delighted for someone like Jack McGrath now, who was kind of forced out of Leinster with the competition there, but has gotten back into the Irish squad.
No, he saw pastures.
I wouldn't say forced out. I'd say he just goes, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to play regularly.
Yeah,
but he's going to play probably half as much when he's there, and it makes Irish rugby stronger. But like we spoke about it last week, Trimby, is that the whole thing is is rather than looking at it negatively on Munster, Ulster, and Connacht, you just look at it and say, well, there's the model of how you should run Irish rugby. Now you can't replicate all of the advantages that Leinster have there, but you can certainly see that if we can upskill the young Irish players coming through before they get to the academy, Irish rugby is going to be in an unbelievably good position. And
Jerry Thornley did a brilliant article on St. Michael's yesterday in the paper, and it seems way more authentic than I thought it would. You know, it's really comes from within, comes from lads like Declan McGrath, who would have been, I think, their first ever cap player, who's Luke McGrath's uncle, who was capped at 6 for Ireland back in 1984, I think. He's heavily involved, and it's lads real like who went to school there, got back involved in coaching. Obviously, they eventually got a director of rugby in 2012, but I don't know. It seems real, like not something Leinster would have invested in, but it's from the school, come within for a school.
Ronan Kelleher and Cian Kelleher's dad, I think, is the principal there.
Exactly, yeah.
And then
A guy from Cork who went in there and just
Yeah.
he was a Cork hurler and got into sport in the school and drove it.
Am I right in saying Michael's maybe 15 years ago wouldn't have been in the mix?
They won their first one in 2007 or something like that. That was the first ever senior cup.
So that shows that in a relatively short space of time, you can develop that talent.
you don't
and
have
get
to have
guys.
a tradition, a big rugby
exactly.
tradition.
Yeah. And they I think he said they highlighted freaks that were coming through the school and going, this guy's 6'6", this guy's 6'7" at 12, 13 years of age or whatever, and they're like, let's make him a professional rugby player. And
They highlighted freaks for school. I'm sure the young
I think that's
young
actually what
teenagers
it
felt really good walking through. You freak! And your man's like, oh, I'm actually really self-conscious about my height here.
Clipboard is like freaks over here as they walk in day one. Like, yeah, but look, I don't know. As you said, it's been a short period of time, and they've managed to create.
I think that's what they did in dodgeball as well, isn't it? They identified a load of freaks. And then they won the tournament.
Yeah, well, look, there's how many of them in the Irish squad now? A ton. And interesting, looking at that Irish squad, I think we might get to picking our teams at the end of the show. Okay, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Ulster. Did you work for that game?
I didn't.
Were you at it?
No, I only got back on Sunday there. But
yeah, it was scrappy.
It was scrappy. I think Ulster were a bit tetchy.
Tough. Not writing Bath off. They're a tough team to play against, and they've
Yeah.
a lot of quality. But I think
They seem to.
they're stuck at their game plan.
Yeah.
Kind of won out in the end, right?
They unsettled them a bit by every time Freddie Burns got the ball, he just looked for the corner, try to find some space in behind.
He had 39 kicks in the game, which was huge, and I thought it was a testament to the back three, Addison, Balakoon and Stockdale.
39 kicks from
hand.
but in general or both one side.
From
From Freddie Burns
They-
or from there.
From Bath, yeah.
Freddie Burns kicked Bath.
yeah.
I thought with the first half, I thought Bath 100% were winning the kicking game, man. 100%.
No, but Ulster kicked the ball 36 times, believe it or not. There was a phenomenal amount of kicks. But I thought they dealt with them
But I
so
think
well.
that might have been skewed because I think it looked like Bath were getting in a phase play. I think a lot of teams now realise that Ulster can defend through long passages of play. After a couple of phases, if you're not getting headway with Ulster, then I think Freddie Burns
to the kick, yeah.
kick it, put it down there, and then Ulster were kicking it back.
Yeah,
So that is
totally.
technically one kick each, but really it's you haven't got any other option if you're Addison, you're fielding
Yeah.
the ball back there, you have to kick it. You know what I mean? It's like slightly skewed. Freddie Burns kicking it is a sign of his intent or Bath's
It
game
was
plan.
definitely Ulster were under the pump when it came to
But they did really well.
really well. Like Balakoon was covering, like I'd say not a guy renowned for his kicking, or maybe it's because he's so young, his positional stuff, but I thought he covered so much ground.
Yeah.
And the three of them linked quite well. Stockdale obviously had to step into 15 when Addison went off.
Yeah.
Did really well. And
He obviously that the bounce of the ball, was
Yeah.
a little bit unfortunate, but
Yeah.
I still think he did really well. In fact, I think we're seeing little glimpses of 2018 Stockdale. I think we're just seeing him come back at a good time, obviously for Ireland, come back into form and looking really sharp. And then Addison with the headband and the head guard. the second half.
He was class, man.
He was brilliant, wasn't he?
And Coetzee was brilliant, man. Coetzee had...
I don't think it was Coetzee's best game.
Man, he had two huge turnovers, man. 2 huge turnovers. He had 19 tackles. He had 10 carries, making averaging just close on 5 meters a carry.
I know, like if you read out Coetzee's stats in any game, they're always going to be incredible. I just thought it's the first time I thought he took a little bit of a dip. I thought he forced 1 or 2 passes, and
he had the turnover for Balakoon's try, didn't he? He had the turnover and they went left.
Listen, he's always incredible. I thought he was just slightly less incredible.
Yeah,
that was
But anyway,
for that break he made on the left hand side when he could have passed but
Yeah,
delayed,
yeah.
and I think someone may have give out to him. It was a Stockdale give out to
it
him.
was
yeah.
Gilly.
The one where he
Gilly threw a tantrum, didn't he?
yeah. But I think it was the right decision. It was
that's the one where Cooney got pushed for the yellow card.
Yeah.
yeah.
That
He
probably
should have gone
made a
himself
penalty
though.
try.
He by the time he fell and kind of slid a bit, he was maybe only 4 meters out from the line.
Yeah.
And it was Freddie Burns, I think, was coming across in the backfield.
Yeah.
He was
Burns
going, please pass, please try and execute the 2-1. If he had just gone and tried to fend him, got a bit of leg drive,
Yeah.
he would have scored it.
Billy Burns, man, I was really impressed with. I
Yeah.
thought he played really, really well. Like Mark and his brother as well, man, which must have been pretty weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought thought he was quality, really good.
McCluskey, obviously, big story last week, not been included in Farrell's squad. Again, couldn't have done more this weekend. First 3 carries, one was
Yeah.
a little sweep play out the back off left-hand scrum, and Ulster made 30 yards, and that's him taking it to the line and committing players and pulling the ball back. Next one was a pretty solid carry. Third carry was a line break. That's all in the first 5 minutes. You're like,
Yeah.
what more can this guy do?
He's busy, isn't he? He's impressive, and he's regularly impressive. Like, he keeps getting on the ball.
So what were your thoughts on that decision, leaving him out?
Oh, I think it's mad. I don't see it. I don't get it at all. And I'm sure I'm being a little bit Ulster biased. I'm trying not to be, but he, especially because Farrell says it's picked on form, and he made a point of saying this. He said this squad is picked on form. If you're not in it, it's because you're not playing well enough. And if you're in it, you're doing well. You're in the top squad of 35? What was it? 36. But that does not make sense with.
But
McCluskey.
he's just in a position where Ireland have the most strength in.
I know. To be fair, if you turn around to me and said, "Well, then who would you drop instead of him?" I would go.
It's
Well,
got to be Aki or Henshaw, as in like you drop him one of them.
Yeah.
It's 2 of 3.
I think I agree with you. Ringrose and Farrell are the 2. Ringrose is probably. So I know we've prepped something for black and white. Ringrose is the first back down for me. He's been incredible.
Yeah.
Farrell is class as well. Just only because have they played that much? Aki hasn't. Just haven't seen much of him. Henshaw, has he played much?
He's played quite a bit, yeah.
Has he been? I just haven't seen as much from him. It's only just because of McCluskey's headlines left, right, and centre. Robbie Henshaw, no one needs to tell me how good he is, but it's just on current form. Stu's on fire.
On fire.
Yeah,
very
but it's
very
the
tough on
same.
him.
It's the same thing. The prominence of certain individuals playing in the Ulster system versus the Leinster system, where everyone just does their job, does it really, really well, really
Yes,
effectively.
You're right. I think that's probably an explanation. So you maybe don't hear headlines, "Oh, Henshaw was incredible today," or maybe see the bust or the big offloads. You're right. I think that probably goes some way to explaining it. Whereas McCluskey's very obviously getting gain lines, getting offloads, smashing boys. So it's easy to see how well he's playing. But maybe you're right. It's
me ask
more
you
of
this.
one part of a whole team all functioning really well.
So you've both been involved in a lot of Six Nations building up to it, and these couple of weeks are so important to gel the team together. It's a new coach come in, a new regime. A lot of people have been talking over the last few weeks about combinations and how important they are. Do you think he looked at that and said, well, look, I've only got a small matter of time here before the first game. Henshaw and Ringrose are probably going to be the combination he'll go with, looking at the squad he's picked. Do you think it's that has a huge factor in
I think
who
it
he picks?
depends what he does elsewhere, because there's a debate at 9, there's a debate at fullback, and then if you go slightly more conservative with those 2, then I think you can roll the dice with the centre. Not that any of them really are rolling the dice. Maybe Aki, maybe is, I don't know, or Farrell maybe. But I don't think you can go with the risky choice all through all the wee 50-50 decisions. I think you kind of make a bit of a balance. For example, if Sexton hadn't been fit, then you probably would have gone Murray. Now that Sexton's fit, I think it probably gives Cooney more of an opportunity.
I think if you gave the
Didn't answer
decision
your
to
question there,
if
sorry.
you gave the decision to 90% of people out there, fans, they'd go Cooney, Sexton, McCluskey, Ringrose, probably Conway, Stockdale and Addison or Larmer then is kind of probably go 50-50. And it's strange. I mean, are we all that uninformed about or ill-informed about how difficult it is to gel that team together?
Your point in the initial one is that like you have a very short window to try and come together, and because this is a new regime as well, the more continuity you can have in certain areas, the easier it will make coming together and transitioning from provincial to international. That doesn't mean that if that you're being conservative. Like I think that like you want to see Cooney getting on the field. But I think there's a certain amount of it that would say, well, okay, I can just pick like 15 players that I think are all playing really well, but when I know that Robbie Henshaw is really comfortable playing inside Gary Ringrose, well then that's an advantage I have straight away. And it's not like Bundy Aki isn't playing well. It's not like Chris Farrell isn't playing well. So then I thought Conor Murray played well at the weekend. Craig Casey played very well, but we can't talk about Munster. But the fact that these guys are playing, like the fact that Conor Murray showed good form at the weekend, the fact that John Cooney is playing out of his skin is a good place to be.
Yeah.
I think where your most nerves would be around the 10, to get Johnny Sexton back and get him back as captain. But I think I think they'll probably go. I don't know what way they're going to go. I would go with partnerships.
Yeah,
I think that's, and then it gives you if that gives you a sort of a baseline for performance, you can start dropping lads in then after that, because your start it's a whole new start as well. You don't know like whether Andy Farrell wants to change the way that they play versus when they played under Joe. I don't think it'll be a huge shift because there's only so many ways to play the game, but I think I go. Continuity.
We'll have to pick our team for black and white at the end. Anyway, did you watch the Connacht game yesterday?
No. Connacht game was unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable. Was
Really?
it?
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Really?
Yeah, genuinely, it was. I thought. Did we say Fainga is going to Montpellier next year?
Talking going to Lyon.
Going to Lyon.
Yeah.
Oh well, Fainga was really good. I thought Godwin was really good. I thought Porch was excellent.
Fainga will be a big loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be huge. Huge loss.
Are so physical for them.
Yeah.
They were 21-0 down at half after 25 minutes. Came back to 21 all.
Yeah, I saw highlights of it just.
And lost.
The first 4 minutes of the game was like a training drill, where one team isn't allowed to touch the ball. It was just like Montpellier just going boom, boom, just carrying, just going all the way up the field, everything they carried. And I was like, how are Connacht going to stop this? And Connacht weren't stopping it. And what was that guy's name? The winger for Montpellier.
The big fella.
Ngandebe.
Yeah.
Man, his feet were outrageous.
Unreal.
He was so sharp, and they played that dropped the ball back off on the inside. Was it Pollard dropped the ball on the inside for him, and he had the tight head, and he just beat the tight head Robertson, McCoy. But he was really sharp, and I was like, Connacht they're going to get 40 or 50 points put on them here, and then they just clinical, boom, just scoring tries out of nowhere. I thought Porch, I thought Jack Carthy again, when he wants to create, man, he's just so exciting to watch.
Yeah, I felt like they missed him when they took him off. It's an interesting dynamic. It's kind of been stuck in my head all season, where I feel like they may need to stick with him, and just give him the time. He's obviously hasn't come back from the World Cup in a great place, and they just need to back him.
He's one of the guys. He's one of the guys who brings something different, isn't he?
Yeah,
And it'd be a shame if you're going to bring something different and you're going to take risks, then sometimes they're not going to pay off. And I think if you're a coach and that's the guy you pick, you need to accept that that's going to be the way, and then you need to give him slightly more grace.
Yeah.
Joe, what about that try? From inside their own half, from their own try line? Was it Tiernan O'Halloran knocked the ball on, or was it Godwin or Porch? Do you know what I'm on about? It was like, or was it Tiernan O'Halloran kicked it infield?
I can't remember.
It was phenomenal, man. It was like watching France play. France back in 1992 with Serge Blanco.
I think the defences in the game were a bit shocking. It did have that feel to it.
I saw Montpellier were constantly turning the Connacht back three, and Connacht were struggling with that.
Yeah.
They were pretty adept at, like, they'd move the ball along the edge and just turn them with a kick in behind, and they got a lot of return from that. But I was watching the Connacht fans over there, and I was thinking, like, if they win this game, this is going to be the best trip they've ever been on. And it was just at the end, I think Caelan Blade was there. It was an unbelievable game. It was a brilliant game. But Caelan Blade was at the very end, was like appealing to the referee, and next minute the ball just bobbled out, and one of the Montpellier boys took possession of it, and that was it done. But it was a phenomenal game. Connacht showed an awful lot of balls in it.
Yeah.
We didn't discuss also, just because Pat had put it on the script, about how Ulster struggled with their set piece, with their scrum.
Yeah.
And they conceded 5 scrum penalties. They lost Tom O'Toole, and Ross Kane came on, and that's going to be an area. It just highlights, like, Tom O'Toole is in the national squad, and you can see why, because he's a machine. But you almost dismiss Marty Moore's contribution.
Oh, like Marty. So at the start of the season, Marty Moore only came back in maybe the week before the first European round, or maybe first European round it was, and you saw the difference straight away. He adds an awful lot to Ulster, and he's pretty good round the park as well.
Yeah, he's decent footballer.
He was involved for that the first Cooney's try against Claremont away, where there's the tip on or back inside, then he offloaded to Cooney, I think it was, to Jordy Murphy. Marty Moore's massively underrated. I suppose, like, it's tight heads in Ireland are kind of dominated by Porter and
Furlong, yeah.
But he should be in the conversation, I think. But anyway, Tom O'Toole, you're right. As a young, it's nice to see him getting involved there, because around the park he's head and shoulders better than any other tight head around. He's so good, so dynamic, smashes boys in defence as well. I think he got a bang in the head early on though. I'm not saying that's the reason why the scrum struggled, but he's obviously a young tight head coming through. It's always going to be difficult.
Yeah, he's got to have to make mistakes.
You were saying to me, I think it was you saying to me before, it's way easier to have what he has and learn how to scrum than be a good scrummager and learn how to tip on and accelerate through contact and smash boys and do everything else he does. So we're in okay. I think Ulster are in pretty good shape when Marty Moore gets fit. That makes a massive difference. And then hopefully over the next couple of years, from an Ulster perspective, Tom O'Toole starts to develop that more and more.
But having if you look at the makeup of the national squad, having Furlong and Porter there, with O'Toole behind them, O'Toole is going to be coming in and taking a lot of reps there. He's going to be so much better after that Six Nations, and then he's coming in. It's kind of maybe they're taking a long-term view on him, and they're saying we could bring Marty Moore in here now, but I think that maybe if Porter, or unless they're considering dropping in Beelum, Archer or Ryan from Munster, from Connacht, then they're probably thinking, well, if the two lads are fit, if we're stuck, we'll keep with Tom O'Toole here and keep developing him. He's going to be a weapon for us down the line. But Connacht or Ulster have the age profile there is very, very promising, and it'd be interesting to see who they go and sign in the off season as well.
Good to see Balakoon as well brought into the Irish squad as a development player.
Yeah, and the second row, Ryan Baird, is it? He seems to be.
It's a great skill set.
Unbelievably well rated
Michaels as well, right?
Yeah,
one of them.
I think it's a good idea.
One of your freaks.
It's nice idea. So they had their squad of 36, and they said, you know what, we'll add this other category, will we? To bring in the young fellas.
It makes absolute sense, because you've guys who are going to be, instead of bringing guys in as just saying you're going to be cannon fodder holding tackle shields for us, you're saying these guys are like, you're acknowledging the improvement that those guys have made in their game, and you're bringing them up, and you're saying they're not gonna, like Ryan Baird won't be like, oh, I can't believe I'm not in the full squad. You know what I mean? Ryan Baird's gonna be excited to be there. He's gonna bring an awful lot of energy. That's the thing, is rather than having guys who are just there who are disillusioned because they're not really in there, they're just being holding tackle shields, they'll bring a lot of energy. They'll make the sessions more competitive.
They used to do an unofficial equivalent to this in the past. I remember Jordan Larmour coming in, and none of us knew his name. Just this young kid from the under-20s came in. You know, so it was they did that in the past to get guys kind of comfortable with the environment and get them into the mix. But it wouldn't have been an official, and it's nice that they've kind of highlighted those 4 guys and said these guys are 4 guys for the future.
Yeah.
Will Connors, Harry Byrne,
Sarah Connors as well.
Ryan Baird and Robert Balakoon. Okay, we just before we get to black and white, we just want to let you know that House of Rugby is making its debut in Cork next week. We'll be at Reardon's on Washington Street next Wednesday evening, January 29th. There will be no show next Monday.
Do you get any goals in Cork, or is that just Limerick?
No, yeah, just Limerick.
What are they
It's Langers in Cork, isn't it?
Langers,
Yeah.
So any Penguins or Langers, please come to Cork next week. We'll have no show on Monday, so you can have Monday off. Well done.
I'll have to go into work.
Boo earns. Pat will release more details on that show and where to pick up tickets, etc. on Twitter this week. But we'll take a quick break and we'll be back with black and white.
Black and white.
Okay, for this week's Black and White, we're sticking with the best 15s theme, but keeping it current. Myself and Trimby have been tasked by producer Pat with picking our starting Ireland team. I'm going to go with 23. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Well, I better pick a
Jerry, you feel
pick a bench then.
Sorry, let's decided this now. Jerry, you feel free to jump in with your thoughts or just lambaste us for our teams. Yeah, so I think I heard someone talk about this during the week where the 23 is a big part of this. The 8 subs are going to be a huge part of this Six Nations team.
Not for Trimby, he doesn't even have subs.
These
You guys
all
are going to
stay
play
fit.
true.
I suppose it's something we don't really focus on a huge amount when it comes to the Irish team is how important the bench
Finishers.
is for us. Yeah, the finishers. So I've gone in with that frame of mind, basically.
Well,
Okay.
cheers for the heads up.
No, one more time. You just
No, I'll be grand. I'll bluff it.
again. I've gone with front row of Kilcoyne, Keller, and Furlong.
Oof.
I've gone with Dev Toner, James Ryan in the second row. I've gone with Hendy at 6. I've gone with Doris at 8, and I've gone with Van der Fleer at 7. With Healy, Herring, and Porter to come off the bench after 50 minutes and destroy everyone. With Pete and CJ to come off the bench in the second half, with Hendy moving to the second row, probably take Dev off, and then let Pete and CJ just run. I mean, the idea of having the two of them off the bench, I just think, fuck, imagine when you're tired and exhausted and have the two of them.
Sounds like more of a team talk than a selection. Maybe just get on with it.
Shut up. I've gone with Cooney and Sexton, 9-10, Henshaw and Ringrose in the centre, back three of Stockdale, Earls and Addison. Connor to come on for Cooney, Ross Byrne on the bench, potentially to come on for Sexton if needs be. And then Conway and Earlsey was a tough one. Conway's playing brilliant, but I would love to see Will Addison play with Earlsey and see how much space he can create for him. And not that he wouldn't do the same for Conway, but I just feel I'd love to see that combination. So that is my starting 23.
Okay, your front row on the bench is my front row that started.
Okay.
And
Healy, Herring, Porter.
Yep.
Yep.
And I've got James Ryan and Handy in the row. I've got Pete at 6, Josh at 7, and Max Deegan at 8. Deegan, Doris. Anyway, I've gone for Deegan.
You don't know which is which, do you?
No. No. I've gone
One of them
for.
has a moustache, I think.
I've gone for Cooney at 9, Sexton at 10, Jacob on the left. I've gone for Farrell and Ringrose in the centre.
Farrell is a 12.
Yes.
Interesting.
And I've gone for Lamour on the right wing.
Sorry, who are your centres again?
Farrell at 12, Ringrose at 13.
Okay.
And I've gone for Larmour on the right. And I've gone for Addison at 15. Now, I know,
And the
I
bench
thought
then,
about
the back-
Conway.
Who's your left wing?
backs-wise?
Stockdale.
Okay, sorry.
Go on, explain your centres.
My centres. So right, you'll notice on my sheet there's blue and red dots. I've tried to combine a mixture of Conservative and Labour Party. selections. So I tried to kind of categorize them all, but based on what we were talking about earlier on, just get a little bit of balance, taking a bit of risk, but also tried and tested combinations. Yeah. So anyway, my centre partnership, Ringsting is the first name down for me. Head and shoulders above every other centre. I think he's been, anyway, he's first name down. In the back line I'm talking about in general, Ringrose. And then I just, Bundy and Henshaw, again, granted what we said earlier on, I think Farrell, I like him.
As a 12, that's interesting. So you would pick, so McCluskey hasn't made it in ahead of the two of them. That must be even more frustrating for you that you're not even picking either of the two of them. You're picking a 13 to play 12.
Oh yeah, because he's not in the squad.
I know, yeah, but like that,
I didn't realise we could do that.
No, we couldn't.
Yeah, fine.
Sorry, you're actually picking a 13 ahead of the two boys that are there.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other interesting ones? Larmour, I know everybody's been talking about Larmour or Addison. I would like to have them both involved. I like what you did though with getting Addison to kind of unlock Earlsy a little bit more. I like that. To be fair to you, I just don't like Hendy at 6, especially when there's so much strength in the back row in Leinster. I think you put Hendy in the row. Hendy's, well, I know you've got Dev in there to call the lineouts, but I know we didn't probably see the bet. He wasn't as busy as he has been, but I think Hendy adds a lot. And he takes a lot of pressure off James Ryan as well.
Stick him in the back row, do the same stuff.
No.
Who
was the rest of your back row again?
Doris and Van der Fleer.
Right, so you don't have Pete in there?
I've Pete and CJ off the bench.
Yeah.
Bit of destruction then.
You're not going to get any impact from them boys.
What?
You start them boys or nothing.
Nah, disagree. We've never tried it.
This is the first time we've actually bought into the spirit of black and white and argued. This is the first time.
Come on, man, get to your bench.
Oh yeah. Front row is as is.
Kilcoyne, Keller, Furlong.
Bear in mind, actually, sorry, I didn't realise we were picking a bench. I'm going to go for, I don't know about my second row, let me think about that, but my back row cover is, so I started with Deegan, so Doris is on the bench. Murray, obviously, I agree. Ross Byrne at 10.
Pete doesn't make your squad.
Pete's starting 6.
Pete's at 6.
Oh, sorry.
Ross Byrne at 10, and then back 5 cover is Earlsy.
Cool. Second row, who are your options?
I'm not going for Dev off the bench. Dev starts.
Sorry, Alton Delan.
Alton Delan, yes. Alton Delan.
Jerry, tear us apart.
Give us a look at the teams. I think there's a couple of question marks.
Very scribbly, man.
Just the blue is the conservative and the red.
Very scribbly, and I don't know if I wrote it accurately.
Yeah.
You didn't, because you had Marty Moore at 3 there.
That's a different team. I don't know what the other team on the left is.
Okay.
It just happened to be on the same page.
I like Addison at 15 on both of them.
What's your thoughts on Larmour on the wing?
Yeah, it's a good call.
Yeah, I think I'd persist. I would have it as a shootout between Addison and Larmour for 15. Because I think that's where you're ultimately going to get the best out of Jordan Larmour down the line. I think Addison's playing phenomenally. I'd probably go. There's a couple of things. I don't think.
Quickly, front row. If Killer hadn't have been injured, if he had have had the same form, I think he has picked up a little
Killer
bit.
had 15 carries at the weekend, man.
Sorry, I thought you were
Crazy.
suggesting that at 15. Killer at fullback.
No. Killer had 15 carries. I'd probably go. I don't agree with starting Hendy at 6 and then moving him across. And I think that I'd probably go with Trimby.
It's fine.
I think the issue.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. I think it's like Ulster's set piece is not going that well, so that's making sure that the set piece work functions.
That's why I had Dev in there.
Yeah.
Tight head row.
Pardon?
Not speaking as it's
Ballast.
The ballast.
Yeah.
Ballast.
Yeah. Look,
Anyway, we're all friends. And
Yeah, I think I'll give it to Trimby, but I think I like the idea of Addison to unlock the likes of Earlsy, like Addison coming back and playing a little, like running and playing a little hook ball where he comes back to the wing and plays Earlsy back in with his feet.
Yeah.
and it's a shame I don't know what you had Conway on the bench, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's a shame Conway didn't feature in my 23 at all, and he was probably Ireland's second best back in the World Cup behind Rings thing.
Yeah. Look, they're in a
Anyway,
good
we're
place.
all friends.
They're in a good place. We're all friends. You'll give it to you
It's
this
fine.
week.
It's
I just
fine.
went with it. I said I'd go with something a little bit unusual, lads. Okay. All right, that's enough for this week, I think. As we said, Pat will be giving more information for our live show from Cork next Wednesday, January 29th. And until then, have a wonderful week. Cheers to everybody for listening, and for those watching on YouTube, howdy doody. Big thanks to all of you in House of Rugby for putting this together, to Pat, Fiona, Paul, Anthony, and Diarmid. This has been Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby here on Joe, together with Guinness. Party on.
Party on.